and you're listening to our podcast on Twitter called News from Other Dimensions. I have trained my entire life, literally since I was born, to be very operational in the other dimensions, and it has created a lot of grief. With this podcast, I'm going to give you the benefit of what I learned that makes life easier, particularly family life, personal life, relationships, because that's what's important to me. My astrological sign is a Cancer. We're going to be here twice a week. At this point, the schedule is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, Eastern Standard Time, 3 o'clock on Thursday. What is this all about? What it is that we're doing here? I've been doing this for several years in Spanish, which is a language that has a lot more words that apply to the other dimensions and a lot more concepts that indicate an acceptance of what's going on in the other dimensions. By the way, right now what's going on in the other dimensions is that I am getting radiated. And I can hear this zoom, but it's all around me. It's not just in one ear. And as you can see, it's affecting my eye for those of you that are watching this video. Psychotronic weapons, frequency weapons, directed technology is very real. You need to educate yourself. I can't talk very much about that because I'll get taken down. I just wanted to share that little thing with you. So what is the big news this week that indicates that we are going to get to where I would like for us to be? Elon Musk is going to have a cage fight with Zuckerberg from Facebook. It's all over Twitter. It's all over even the Daily Mail in Europe, which I do look at because they put in weird news. And a lot of weird news is just interesting stuff happening in other dimensions. But anyway, so why am I happy about this? Well, it's cute. It breaks the monotony of all the very heavy duty stuff that's happening now in end times. But it's also an indicator, more on Elon's part than Zuckerberg. But let's see how he handles this of, hey, we're all in this together. Let's have a little bit of fun. Enemies, which I have to assume that in the business world, we would all consider that their enemies are competing for the same people, same public. And yet Elon's not handling that way. He's handling it as an opportunity for fun, engaging the followers, giving them something to laugh about, and maybe even an exchange with what should be a competitor, which is Facebook. This is the way we should all be living, and I'll tell you why. Because if there's anybody that should know, it's me. Not the scientists that are looking for the spaceships and the ETs, but somebody that literally lives and works in the other dimensions more than I do in the physical. Humans think that they're enemies of each other? No, our real enemies are off planet, and it's not all the aliens at all. I don't know if I should laugh or cry when I see all of the back and forth having to do with, do aliens exist? You can't be on this planet and be awake and actually ask that question. That means that you're only awake to a very small part of the physical dimension. You have to be awake to the whole physical dimension plus the other dimensions, and then you're better able to take care of yourself and your family and your bank account. A little aside and a promo, except it won't make me any money. I'm doing some chats that are called Sanaciones Pink, which means pink healings, in which I'm practicing and augmenting my healing abilities. It is so conducive towards that actually happening that the whole room gets full of pink. And you can see it if you look at my YouTube videos. You can see the one that says Sanacion Pink, that the whole room is pink, contrary to other videos that I do. But we were doing that yesterday, and I decided that I would use it, as I did with all of you last week. I would use it for your bank accounts. And we got 2 testimonials of things that they thought were impossible and happened. They say totally due to the healing that I did on their bank accounts and their money, because some people don't have bank accounts. So, am I doing this to promote myself? Am I going to make more money? No, I'm doing this to promote you as a human being. That's why you're following me, I hope. You want to see what it is that I do? You want to do more of what I do? You want to be able to be more operational in the other dimensions? Um, because the other dimensions are becoming increasingly important. Excuse me, because whatever it is that they're sending me is really affecting my right eye. The right eye channels the energy of the right eye of Horus, the Egyptian god. The fact that my printer just started making noises means they're sending a lot of energy. They have stimulated the electrical system there. All humans have electrical system. So what I'm going to try to give you is information about what's going on and then tell you about the other dimensions of it so that you can get up to speed. So let's start with the ascension process. If you don't know it, you need to know that this week of the 20th of June 2023, the Shumann Resonance was documented as having made this incredible quantum leap. Nobody knows to where, but this quantum leap, it looks totally different. You need to see the graphs. But what was that all about? What does that mean for all of us? Well, it means that you probably had headaches, body aches, confusion, dizziness. Every time I put the post about, are you dizzy and confused? And then I give the mantra, which is, even though I'm dizzy and confused, I love and accept myself. You repeat it silently. And it helps. But those symptoms, plus many others, are symptoms of a frequency shift in your energy bodies. We are becoming more galactic. For that, we need to shift consciousness. We have many bodies. So we have our consciousness divided in all these bodies, all of which are in different dimensions. And ultimately, they're supposed to look like the set of Russian dolls, one inside the other, each in their dimension. But we have most of our consciousness on the physical dimension. Many of us have too much of our consciousness on the astral spiritual dimension, where your astral spirit is. And that makes us very clumsy on the physical dimension. I'm one of those culprits. You're supposed to be kind of evenly divided. You're not supposed to be struggling on the physical dimension just because you have so much of your attention consciousness on the astral dimensions. But that happens to most of us that are psychic. And it's a balancing act that is continuous. I need to have more contact with nature, at which time I would not be so clumsy on the physical dimension. I'd also be healthier. So the Shumann Resonance shift is part of the ascension process. No question. No question. And what does it mean to you? That you need to hurry up, having to do with your alternative skills. Or you need to widen your lens on life so that whatever news you get hit with having to do with the other dimensions, you'll be able to integrate it gracefully rather than go into shock. And you should share this stuff with your kids, at which time a lot of them, especially a lot of them are going to say, we already know that, because the younger kids are born very wide awake, whereas we're profoundly asleep. So the Shumann Resonance shift is the ascension process. Is going extremely well in the fact that it's actually happening. But what happened, and I was kind of glad to see a lot of people say it, is that the world was divided ultimately into two. Those who have a higher frequency because they are not so dirty in their mind, but I'm not talking pornography and sex, I'm talking the traumas that you went through, you've already cleared them out of your mind. You're not carrying them as unfinished garbage, unfinished business. You've cleared it, so your resonance goes up. So for those who are heavier in resonance, they ended up and have been increasingly ending up in one camp where everything is very negative, including the future. Then you have the other group that's been clearing, lots of contact with nature. And it doesn't mean you have to know your chakra system. You don't need to know anything. You just need for your mind to be kind of light and not hanging on to bank accounts, not hanging on to children, not hanging on to your hatred of the political opponent, not hanging on to your sadness as you see what's going on in a civilization that has done very well, which has to do with the United States and the leader of the pack of the world. That obviously we are in a process of a bit of a decline. As long as that sadness is not taking you down, also, you will be lighter, and you will end up in the group of people that will have an ascension process that is described in the Bible. I believe it's said, I'm not a biblical person, I'm not a Catholic, I'm not a Buddhist, okay? But in the Bible it says that there'll be two at the well, one will be taken and the other one will stay. The one that stays is going to have a not such a great time. What happened in the solstice, which was the 21st of June? We aligned with the total center of the galaxy. The last time I really remember this happening, I can be mistaken on this, was 2012. December 21st, 2012, we totally aligned with the center of the Milky Way. And there's a portal there with a very small hole, and some people can slip through that. What happens next, we'll have to live together. But supposedly at some point, we will be in the golden age. Thank you. Somebody is saying that they can tell my heart is really in this. So they want to know what's going on with the submarine. Well, I'm going to tell you that I am not going to remote view the submarine, because already there's too much out there saying, oh, this was a setup. Maybe it was a setup, I don't know. But what I will tell you is that if enough people follow FRANCESFOX and the Mantrist movement, either or both, they're not going to do to us what they do to us now. It will take, when they find the sub, it will take 2 years for the final report. It's got to go to all the departments. You got to check it out. They need to make sure that they share the proper information. Get yourself a good remote viewer, and you will know when it's happening. Get yourself somebody who's very psychic, and they will be able to tell you. And in the future, you are going to be able to say, not sure I trust what the news is saying. Oh, well, that makes you a genius, actually. Hopefully you're not one of the last people that will recognize that. And you are going to be able to do a tiny meditation or smoke some pot, which will open the veils to the other dimensions, and do a mantra with the intention of knowing what did happen to that submarine. So for the people that are in the chat that are asking about the submarine, you need to go see it yourself. I can't go see it because it might be dangerous. I might be unveiling a conspiracy. And honestly, if I'm going to get taken down, it's not going to be over that submarine. It's going to be over something a lot bigger than that. So can't answer the question, but I can tell you that all of you have the ability to do what it is that I do, and you need to practice up. And for that, you have to stop questioning yourself when you get this like feeling. But do know that if you're involved with the person or the situation, you might not be able to trust that feeling. It could be a spirit. It could be resentment you are dragging into this incarnation, etc. I want to say something very quickly on the whole, whatever's going on with human sexuality on the planet. I am not for or against anything. I think everybody should be able to choose whoever they want to have sex with. Honestly, it's their business. But the whole thing about the changing of gender via a change of the physical vehicle, the physical body, you have to be really careful with that, because a couple of people that I have checked, it was a past life issue. They were at a point in their life and they opened up some memories of themselves in a past life where it was very pleasant and nice to be of the opposite sex, coincidentally. And then they thought that maybe this was their sexual inclination. Without knowing, probably because they weren't allowed to believe in reincarnation, that this was really a past life memory, which a lot of our traumas and a lot of our problems are based on a past life memory that is stimulating a reaction today to what's in front of us. But honestly, the force of the whole thing was in another incarnation. So I would say that we have to be really careful with this I was going to say mutilating the body, but these people don't consider it such. Really careful with the whole doing surgery, which I'm not sure is reversible, when maybe you don't really understand why it is that you're feeling that. A lot of very creative therapy needs to go on, not the kind of therapy you get with the psychologist today. Psychologists today do not deal with emotions. And they're going to say that's not true. No, 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 no. I know what I'm talking about. 30 years of therapy, I know what I'm talking about. You're not supposed to talk about emotions. You're supposed to emote them. In the dictionary, the definition of the word emotion means to move out, to emote. You know, for a second here, I went, oh my God, am I speaking in the language I'm supposed to be speaking in? Yes, this is the podcast, News from Other Dimensions with FRANCESFOX, and it's in English. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not in the right language. I know I'm in the right place. The camera's pointed at me. So you have to be careful with making permanent decisions. And a type of therapy should be set up, and I'll be more than glad to work with whoever would like to work on that. And then to get it to the people to ensure that that the person is feeling is legitimate for this incarnation and for what's going on. I was going to say good luck with that. No. People are becoming a lot more intuitive and a lot more open. And what I'm talking about is doing a type of intention prayer, which is a mantra. Please, God, help me with my intention to understand my sexuality. That would be perhaps the mantra. You repeat it in silence in your head. Understand your sexuality. Okay, well, for the women who become gay because of a negative experience with a man, they will probably trigger that memory and they'll remember it. At which time they'll understand that they have a darn good reason to be angry at men. But that shouldn't necessarily throw them into a different camp in terms of sexuality. So anyway, we need a type of therapy that is designed to avoid an incredible situation if people actually go through those surgeries, which they are, based on internal information encouraged by external happenings in society that are passing or that are not legitimate. And I'm not saying that everybody is not legitimately doing this. And if I get hit over the head with a baseball bat because I said this, at some point I'm going to say it. So I got it out there. I'm not for, I'm not against. I'm trying to ensure that the intention of the individual is respected by the individual who may not know what's going on in the other dimensions of their assemblage of bodies. So let's go on to the next thing I wanted to talk about. We're going to be doing weekly horoscopes in English here on Twitter. But what's different about our horoscopes? My intention has always been to help the process of human evolution. My horoscopes give information to help you in your personal evolution on planet Earth, particularly now at end times. This is the point at which you don't go, you know what, I can't deal with that right now. You need to take the time to deal with it because this is it. End times. We're at the end of end times. And being on the wrong side of the road on the end times is going to be very, very damaging to you and actually everything that you touch. Not just you, your family, everything that radiates from you. Let's move on into the alien disclosures because everybody's asking me, what's your opinion? What's going on? What's my opinion of alien disclosures? I do not have a lot of respect for the powers of observation of human beings today in modern society. I don't. Actually, I have zero respect. If you do not widen your lens, you will end up identifying things as problems that are actually not problems, but are things that come up to trip you up so that you go, oh my God, that's a really deep black hole, which you would have never seen if you hadn't gotten tripped up. Now, in order for you to recognize that big black hole, your lens has to be wider. You can't be busy hitting the person that did this to you or crying victim the way I did for so many years. When I came out of the psychic closet, I'm not gay. The closet I was in was a psychic closet. Nobody knew about my past, my present, let's say my past, in terms of being in a secret government program. And when I came out of that closet in the 90s, it was really confusing for a lot of people. And it was really confusing for me. But I had been trained, and I'm grateful for that, even though I screamed bloody murder for years about the abuse and the torture and the whole 9 yards. I was trained to have a very wide lens. The person that had the most influence on me did a lot of planning. And he would plan this decision that we're making. What is the effect in 5 years? Oh, okay. What's the effect in 10? Oh, okay. What's the effect in 25? Oh, what's the effect in 50? Oh, what's the effect in 100 years? What? You widen your lens. And something that appears really bad right now, in 5 years, may be really good. When a problem happens, if you just say, what's going on behind the scenes? And I'm not talking conspiracy here, even though the people that have imposed things that we now call conspiracy on us, they could count on us being asleep. They could count on us that if they pointed in that direction, you would go in that direction, rather than saying, but this direction looks better. Oh no, authority said. That's another issue today that, thank God, is getting taken care of. Hierarchy. Everybody's paying attention to hierarchy. What does hierarchy tell you to do? So you either do it automatically or you go totally against hierarchy. You still didn't do your own thinking. Can we get you to do your own thinking, please? But for that, you have to get in touch with your heart center. Not so that you can throw love all around, which you can do, but because this heart center has something that's called intelligence of the heart, which the Greeks said was the most important intelligence. The intelligence of the head, which is what we're taught in school, etc., very limited. Intelligence of the heart has everything to do with connections and relationships. And I'm going to go on just one. Okay, nobody's going to cut my head off because this is old news. The Taliban is an example of not using intelligence of the heart. You train somebody to go against your enemy, which is what we did with the Taliban. Now, if the person who trained me had been there, he would have said, not a good idea. We're giving all this stuff to these people. What do we know? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, gets turned against us, which is exactly what happened. So you need to look at all your stuff and see, not necessarily 5, 10, 25, 50, 100, that's a bit much. What is going to happen long term? What other meaning is there? What more information is there? And then I got to say this. You really need to learn how to think. Do you know how many women, people are not interested in sex anymore? I can tell you that because I'm psychic. And before, it was an avalanche. Well, what's going on with this guy? Is he with another woman? This woman, is she really in love with me? Is she only with me because of my money? Oh, God, please. Why do I do that? Because reading romantic and sexual relationships, don't do it. Because emotions determine the future. Emotional outbursts or emotional repression changes the future. So here you are, you're a great psychic, and you're telling somebody, yes, he wants to be with you. Oh, and it turns out that he's more afraid of his wife than he wants to be with you. But yeah, he wants to be with you. Widen your lens. What's the rest of his life like? But what I was going to get to was, I don't have that anymore, which is why I was telling you, the whole sex thing is not working on planet Earth. It needs a recalibration. The women, no, my husband's with another woman, and they don't do this anymore, but when they used to. And I'd say, okay, when was the last time you had sex? I don't remember. Is this the man that you were complaining about that was so horrible? He was a couch potato. He didn't bring home enough money. He didn't pay attention to the kids. Or you? Yeah. Uh, he went with another woman who's giving him sex and probably tells him he's great. Yeah, well, but you have to be responsible. You can't be a victim. When you can say, I am victimized because some other woman took my man, you know what? You're being a victim. You're not being responsible. And you're definitely not going to make it in the new world because the consequences are going to be automatic. It's not going to take 20 years, 25 years, 10 years for something to come back to haunt you. So if it doesn't make sense, if you ask a lot of questions, then you really don't have the answer or you're in the wrong place or something. And you need to look at everything like that. In the 90s, when I came out of my psychic closet, my sister said, when she heard me ranting and raving and screaming about my victimization, because honestly, my therapist all said they had never heard a more horrifying story than what I went through, which there were 10,000 kids. I wasn't the only one. My sister said to me, you know, you chose this, right? And I went, what are you talking about? She says reincarnation. I said, yeah, I know all about reincarnation. Yeah, I believe in that. This was the 90s. She said, you chose that before you were born. And I said to her, I am not that dumb. I did not choose this. What are you, crazy? You had to be crazy to choose this. It took me about 10 years to integrate that because she's bright, kind of knew she was right. And then as the years went by, I was like less angry at the abusers. I'm still angry at them because they're still doing stuff. And just because you know doesn't mean you have to accept it, that you like it. But I realized I chose all of that to be able to be here today teaching you. So now let's turn this around. What did you choose that was so bad that you cannot accept that you would have chosen that? What? And if you wait long enough, or if you ask the question long enough, you're going to get the answer of why you chose that. Why did you stop having sex with your husband? Maybe you wanted him to leave. Maybe you were really pushing him into the arms of another woman. I don't know why I'm using that example today so much. I think the whole thing with sex has me very preoccupied. As Elon says, we're going to collapse as a country because we need to have children being born all the time, because those children will start growing up, they'll work, they'll put money, contribute to the system, and then the old people live on that in Social Security, and the cycle continues. When there are no longer young children or young adults, there's no money going into the system. There's only money coming out. Japan is no longer a significant nation in the world because it's a nation that is dying. Okay, that's a lack of sex. I wrote a book 10 years ago called Sex, the Path to God. And in it, I was talking about how in Japan, they have a phrase and they call the men, I don't know how to pronounce it, herbivores. And it means men who graze on grass. In other words, not very masculine and not really interested in sex. So now Japan lost its position. Nobody can take Japan seriously. You want a treaty for 25 years? Well, you may not even be around in 10. Your system's going to collapse because you don't have the people, because you're a nation not reproducing yourselves. Okay, that may not sound so interesting to all of you, but how about the sex in your personal life? Sex has to do with orgasm. And getting paired off with the opposite sex or the same sex for sex, and then there is no sex, that means there's no orgasm. Orgasm is spiritual ecstasy. Okay, so we're rejecting spiritual ecstasy. What is it that we're rejecting? I have a book written on this. I'm almost afraid to bring it out. It's out there, but I'm almost afraid to talk about it because the subject of sex is full of violence and a lot of misinformation. But I have to say that if you're fortunate enough that your body is still operational, I suggest that you find out why it is that you're not having the amount of sex that we human beings used to have, because it's a big issue in your personal life, with whoever you're paired off with, and with your country and the world. We have populations that are dying simply because people are not having sex. core issue in end times. So let me see if there's other questions, and if not, we already passed the 30-minute mark, which is the length of time that my editor tolerates listening to me speak when he has to edit. Okay. So somebody says, I think more of you is headed. Oh, yes. She's saying that I have more followers on my English YouTube channel. Well, I hope nobody from YouTube is listening, but I have to tell you, you want a good example of somebody being swept under the rug, stepped on, covered, thrown in the closet. It's my English YouTube channel, which is FRANCESFOX English. We made it very simple. And if you post a comment, they take it down. If 10 people get on, they'll put 4 or 2 or none. They switch the numbers because they don't want you to know how many more of you are watching and liking what it is that we're doing. Okay, let's go back to alien disclosure because I don't want to end on that note because that was a little bit negative. Alien discovery. If you don't believe in other beings, that means you don't believe in spirits. And if you believe in spirits, then you have to believe in other beings from other planets because a lot of the spirits that we deal with come from other planets. Spirit means they don't have a presence on the physical dimension. They don't have a physical vehicle. They're called vehicles in ancient literature. Vehicles. Not bodies, vehicles, because the ultimate vehicle is like a spaceship. It's the Star of David, Merkaba. So it is scary to live in a country to where the reality of spirits, we all have a spirit body, which is our astral, emotional body. To live in a country where you're not allowed to officially believe in spirits. The justice system, oh my God, medical system? This is the only medical system that doesn't integrate the fact that you cannot get sick unless it's a spirit. Why the heck do you think Jesus Christ, the first thing he did was release spirits? Anyway, we're well over time. I don't want my editor angry at me because he's very emotional. He's a creative person. So we are going to finish now, but I'm going to invite you to pay attention to our channel because we're going to start our prosperity training. It's called Prosperity in the Midst of Chaos. And I started pulling that class together in 1999 because I knew at some point it was going to get chaotic. So you may want to find out when we're giving that. And we were contacted today by our geisha in India that the Rinpoche, who is a tantric Rinpoche, which means the highest level and deepest level of Buddhism, just did a ceremony, a prosperity ceremony, and they included me and my family and the Mantristas, etc. But I'm asking them to do that same ceremony and put it here on Twitter so that all of you can benefit from it. It's stacking the deck in your favor in the other dimensions. Those dimensions that are being revealed, those dimensions that are full of beings, lots of which are very helpful, and others who are our enemies, particularly at night. So stay in touch with our page, which is Fox Francis. A silliness. I could have had FRANCESFOX. Can you believe that? And I let it go. Doesn't make any sense. That was, when I do something that dumb, I always say that was a spirit. As if it wasn't my responsibility. It's not my responsibility or yours when you do something stupid or dumb. And it's a spirit. Your responsibility was that you were broken enough that that spirit was able to come in and influence you. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm FRANCESFOX. This is News from Other Dimensions, and we're very proud to be here on Twitter. Thank you for listening.